All right, you guys, this is Zenoyer, aka otherwise known as James Sparks. Butler turned that down. Anyway, we got about 15 more minutes to go until we have this news conference. I tell you, I'm not happy. I know the history behind that. I put a post. Excuse me, I got a scratchy throat this morning. I put a post on my Facebook page. As far as Venezuela goes, all of us are in this, and we can't call a mulligan. We own it. If we are wrong, we pay dearly. So, they got lots of charges on him, but in our legal system, you're innocent until proven guilty. So, the burden beyond a reasonable doubt, too. So, the burden is on New York, what, Southern District of New York, to prove that that's what happened. That Maduro did all that, and his wife did all that. So if they can't prove it and Maduro walks free, then where does that leave the U.S.? That leaves us with egg on our face, doesn't it? It means we're going to have to pay some reparations to Venezuela. But you get people talking about all kinds of stuff. Like I hear on the local news stations, they're all happy about it. But that ain't the way I see it, because the United States has put a pressure campaign on Venezuela for a real long time. Um, Venezuela, they wanted to break out of the petrodollar and being what they felt being restricted by the petrodollar. So they actually wanted to make their own kind of thing like a petrodollar, but it's not a petrodollar, it's something else. They were going to go in with China and Iran and Russia to do it. Well, don't forget the Monroe Doctrine, right? I mean, South America, that's supposed to be our backyard, huh? I mean, we don't own it, but yet we own it. Is that the way it goes? But the United States didn't want that. I mean, that's the world's largest um, reservoir of oil, and we had all kinds of businesses, oil companies down there that was pumping oil. They got kicked out because oil got nationalized. It's the United States. They have put a pressure campaign on that government since before Maduro, trying to get them back onto the petrodollar, get the American oil companies back in there, and get the revenue flowing back to the United States. So to me, to my way of thinking, that's what this is all about. This doesn't have nothing to do with drugs. And like it's been stated several times before, they got all that oil and all that gold. What do they need to smuggle drugs, right? As well, if people get off their back and let them ship some oil, they say it's, oh, here, somebody else liked my thing as far as Venezuela goes on my Facebook page. You can find me on Facebook, James E. Parks Jr. on Facebook. Oh, yeah. So we got another about I'd say about 7 minutes or so until that starts up. But yeah, so now what? So it's now that our government has went down there and kidnapped. Now remember, innocent until proven guilty. Kidnapped their president, brought him here. So does that mean if like some country on earth believes that our president is a criminal, that gives them permission to come and capture our president, throw them, and take them back to their country and try them. Well, first they'd have to get past our armed forces. Dig what I'm saying? But yeah, so this is a bad thing. This isn't right. If they had done it right, in my opinion, they would have waited until Maduro was not the president anymore. I mean, if that's what he'd done all those smuggling cocaine and with the, what is it, the cartel of his son or whatever. Now, if he'd done all that, wait till he's out of office. Like, we got to wait till Trump's out of office, right? To try him for all the dastardly things he's done that he's getting away with. We got to wait till he's out of office. So that should apply down in Venezuela too. Wait until Maduro is out of office and then go get him. Then try him if that's what you think needs being done. Dig what I'm saying? But oh no, United States is like sovereign of the earth. What is that? Oh, hey, we got 10 minutes. I said 7 minutes a while ago, but we got about 10 minutes. And of all things, Trump, when he was running for president, excuse me, when he was running for president, he said, "Oh, I'm the peace president. I love peace. I'm against war." Blah blah blah. He wasn't telling the truth apparently, because I mean, peace loving presidents don't go around bombing other countries and kidnapping the presidents. And like over in Iran, they're having riots in the streets because the economy stinks in Iran. I heard that they got real bad water problems in Iran right now. I mean, it's not good. But they're having riots in the street, and Trump's over there saying, "Yeah, well, if they shoot any of those protesters or anything, we'll come charging to the rescue." What are we? They all against being the world's police, and now you got Trump threatening to go over to other countries and interfere in their internal affairs. I think the people of Iran can handle it. They got out the Shah of Iran back in '79. I think if they could get rid of the Shah of Iran, I think they can get rid of whatever government is in place. They don't need the United States coming and butting in. You dig what I'm saying? Well, maybe I got a bad attitude, but that's the way I feel about it. So now we're down there. Huh. What other kind of thing did or got promised and has been backed out on already? About the only thing that Trump catches promises on so far is like immigration, wanting to throw every immigrant in the United States out. Oh man. Ugh. That's the way it goes. That's the way it goes whenever you vote a criminal into office. Everybody knew he was a criminal. Everybody, I mean, the people that voted for him, they had to have known he was a criminal. They had to have known that, like, he wasn't like mama's boy. He never done anything wrong. Dig it? And that guy, he's had criminality in his life, all his life. And the first thing that pisses me off about him, I never did like him before anyway, because of like The Apprentice and all that, And that's why I first really heard about him. I didn't pay attention until then. I heard about him, and I thought it was sucked that everybody's all getting happy that somebody got fired. He's up there, "You're fired," and everybody's like, "Oh yay, he fired somebody." Oh, damn! I thought like when somebody gets fired, you're supposed to like be sad about it or something. I mean, if it was an unjust firing, I mean, if they screwed up and really they needed firing, yeah. But in this case, it was just like this petty competition with these dumbass. I don't know, I call it. I'm not really a big fan of the corporate world and all that, and their culture. You might say the corporate culture, right? One-upsmanship. Oh man, yeah, yeah. You should watch a movie, "How to Get Rich Without Really Trying." Oh, it's good. It's a musical, but it's good. This guy gets this book, how to get up in the world or something without really trying. As he's reading this book and following the instructions, he starts off on the street, ends up in the mailroom, and before you know it, he's freaking uh, top CEO, executive chief of this company. It's really funny. It's hilarious. You should see it. But yeah, I have disdain for all that corporate culture. So, and Trump's a big old part of it. They act like it's okay to steal from people. Seriously. Uh, if they didn't think it was that okay to steal people, what from people, why would Trump be making those bullshit trading cards with him like as an astronaut or cowboy and all that? To me, that's just garbage. People have that stuff saved up. You take it to a pawn shop or whatever. Take it to a trading card collector convention. See how much money you get for those. Huh, I tell you. And those he had even like some gold Trump money or something, gold dollars. And people thought they were real dollars. And they could go to the bank and trade them in. And embarrassment happened because of it. You couldn't go trade those in. It wasn't real money. But Trump, by his slick words, made it sound like it was real money to some poor folks that have faith and confidence in some guy on TV. And it's a mindset too. I tell you what, when my mom was alive, she was a far right Republican, so to say, evangelical. I asked her one day, "Hey, Mom, who do you think you could trust the most, the government or like just regular old people?" And she said the government, because she thought that the government would, or no, the government or corporations and stuff. She said the corporations is what she trusted the most. Like, how can you trust? Well, I didn't say it to her because I'm not going to argue with my mom about anything. I just nod my head. Oh, interesting. But how can she trust the corporations? They tried to take everything she had. Whenever she was dying from cancer, they tried to take everything she had. And they talk like they're all righteous and shit, and like Trump, like they know the best way to steer the world towards prosperity. Prosperity for them, nothing for anybody else. That's why I'm in favor of like co-determination and a thriving wage and all that kind of stuff. So I want to see people thrive. I don't want to see some rich guy like Trump or anybody else like that, like scheming and conniving, trying to take what people's got, what they've worked their butts off for. That's the way I feel about it. Hey, where'd my little slideshow thingy go? Is it right here? Oh, no, that ain't it. All right, I think we're about ready to go here. I'll turn that one off and turn that one off. Let's see. Yeah, that's the one we want right there. Maybe adjust it a little bit. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, just up a little bit right there. Up your nose, in your face, in your eye. Look at here. Look at that one eyeball right there. Doesn't that eye look a whole lot different than that eye? If you could put something that you could cover up one half of his face and then look at it and look at the other half of his face covered up, and it's like two different, entirely two different people. Look at that, don't it? Here, let me slide that shit over here. Look, okay. There's one person, all right, and a little bit more. There's another person. See, some people say that guy had a stroke. I don't know if he did or not. I'm not a doctor, but some people say he did. He looks like he had a stroke. I remember when my grandpa had a stroke. That's what he looked like. So looks like by my clock over here, we got a couple more minutes to go, and then we can hear his spiel. I'll try not to comment at all. I'll try. And if I do comment, I'll try not to like blow my top. But I don't like this shit. How many of our people, our boys, our soldiers, our warriors, men and women, how many of them are going to get killed now? Because this ain't over. We're at war. Did they expect this to be over? You can't go like, oh, sorry, Venezuela, our bad. We call it mulligan. And they'd be like, oh, no, you wanted to fight? You got to fight. I mean, what are they going to do now? They're going to be sabotaging our stuff now for retaliation? What's going to happen next? I don't like it. I don't care what anybody says. I don't like people getting all hooked on cocaine and all that. And I don't believe the story about them bringing fentanyl over here. I believe that comes a different route. But, you know, I'm against people getting like addicted to drugs and everything, but I can't dictate other people's lives. You understand? I can only dictate my own life. I could wish they don't do that, but I can't stop them. We got laws about that. Okay. But I prefer people don't do that. I prefer we don't go to war. Dad blame it. All right. It is 11 o'clock by my clock. That stuff ought to start like really, really on the right now. I'm going to refresh my my screenment. Make sure that, okay, let's skip that ad.
Was the reason he would not have pardoned a convicted criminal who brought in 400 tons of cocaine into this country directly. There's so many conflicts of interest that you can't even count them. It's a grift. People don't want to see that, but the facts prove it.
All right, and we are standing by for President Trump's news conference that was scheduled to start right now. So we are going to just continue to take your calls until the president approaches the podium and starts speaking. So we'll talk now to Effie Independent in Newport Richey, Florida.
Hi, yes, thank you for taking my call. For me, this is yet another terrible day for the United States. Some of the callers seem to think that invading another country is okay because they've embraced the propaganda that's being provided to them by a very corrupt administration.
Right.
And depending on what news station they're watching, they have agendas. And so they are basically embracing these agendas. I want to ask, did they learn anything from Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Vietnam, et cetera, et cetera? You know, we're not the good guys. We're going into a sovereign country, and we're not going after the drugs. We're going after the oil. And do we honestly think that the Venezuelan people are going to go along with this?
Exactly.
And if the past serves as a blueprint, we usually stick crony dictators in, and we do it to get control, and we all know how that turns out.
Right.
I'd like to know where our checks and balances have gone in this country, and I'm really embarrassed by the callers who think this is a good idea.
We don't have
I feel that they did not pay attention in history class.
Yeah.
In Gaza, he's basically turned a humanitarian crisis into something that seems to be okay as long as we can, you know, fund it with our tax dollars and create a Riviera. Yet Venezuela is something important.
All right, Effie. Let's talk to Martha in Missouri, Republican line. Go ahead, Martha.
Cut her off.
I cannot believe that anybody could say that what he's doing is right. He's knocked down our White House.
Yep.
Everything he does, he doesn't get any permission from the Congress. His remarks were, "I'm the president. I can do anything I want."
Yeah,
that sounds like a damn dictator to me.
And Martha, you're a Republican. Did you vote for President Trump?
Heck no.
I voted for him the first two times. I did not vote for him the last time because I could see the handwriting on the wall.
Good for you.
He's an egotist. He's a pedophile.
Yep.
He's a convicted criminal.
You're right.
And somebody in Washington needs to stand up to this man.
Yeah.
I cannot believe he has these people believing he's doing the right thing. He is not doing the right thing.
Doing
He's
the
going to
wrong
get us
thing.
in a war, and this time it may be fought on our soil. And I don't agree with anything he does because he does it behind the back of everybody, and he's got these Republicans so scared that they're afraid to stand up to him.
Yep.
And when he bulldozed down part of the White House, that was and pardoned all those people that came in and tore up my
Martha, look, we're standing by to take you to Mar-a-Lago for President Trump's news conference.
Here we go.
In the meantime, Kevin is in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, Democrat. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yes, we ask ourselves what's driving this con man's presidency. Why does this grifter continue to draw so much attention every day on our major networks and on the front pages of our nation's newspapers? Many of us have concluded that he is the commodity, the product that helps them all attract readers and, more importantly, sell advertising. They all make money off the orange man, and they love it. Many Americans, however, do remember the chaos in the White House during his first term, the Secretary of State calling him a moron and then leaving his cabinet, the number of temporary appointments in his administration because he would not keep anyone that did not walk lockstep with him like the Nazi troops did for Hitler. We remember the fallout with our European allies, his love for Putin.
Yes. So Kevin, bring us to Venezuela.
Yeah.
He got from his meetings with Putin and his disinterest in paying any attention to our own NSA, CIA,
he's off the
and military intelligence briefings.
But regarding Venezuela.
Let's go. Regarding
19. I think the number was an additional 500,000 Americans
he's
before
just
he took the pandemic seriously and did.
All right, we'll talk to Ed now in Indiana. Independent line. Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, I'm really disturbed because a lot of people do not actually understand it's not also just about the drugs. Everybody's hit on it, and I do support this action. We cannot have Iraq, North Korea, China, Russia on our doorstep down here on the south end of the Gulf, because it would be a very, very dangerous thing to have them there, because it is a backdoor into Mexico, and then they can flood their people in. The other side of this is he is not the first president to drop bombs on a country. Obama dropped something like 28,000 bombs without permission from Congress.
He's the first one to kidnap a president.
This is an ongoing thing.
He's going to go
and it's
to Iran.
A Monroe Doctrine thing. We're trying to keep our side of the globe clean.
Monroe Doctrine, oh boy.
I guess incursions. My son served in the military for 10 years over in the Middle East, and it was no different there than it is here. I don't want to see a long war, but if you have to get rid of someone who's paid by narco traffickers, who's paid by Iraq, who's paid by China to turn his face and do whatever, then so be it. It's no different than anywhere else in the world.
Let's talk to Tim, Republican, Graham, North Carolina. Go ahead, Tim.
I disagree. Why don't they go and
I don't know why
arrest
they would say
Iran's
it's the wrong idea. He's trying to protect the American people. People die of fentanyl overdoses every day.
Every day.
And I think he's doing a great job. You know, you want to talk about scammers. I mean, they left all them people in Gaza over there, all the ISIS people, all kinds of equipment when he done a pullout. I mean, Biden did. He was an idiot.
That's Afghanistan.
Brainwash.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am. Well, Afghanistan, I'm sorry. And the ACA ain't nothing but a ripoff. The Affordable Care Act.
Listen, what about Venezuela?
We're not talking about that right now, but here's Danya in Homestead, Florida, Democrat. Go ahead, Danya.
You guys are brainwashed.
Yes, hi, good morning. You know, I don't know why, and I think people need to wake up a little bit to see really what's going on in this country. The president had a meeting with Putin not too long ago before all this has happened.
Oh, yeah.
And he even spoke about it himself, how he would have done it earlier in his first term. But of course, the type of influence that he has gained now in this administration, in this year, and throughout the years, even during Biden, to gain this uproar of this cult of what MAGA is, has allowed him to do whatever he wants. Now, the only good thing that the president did was really help out the Venezuelan people. And now we really have to ask ourselves, what is exactly that happened in that meeting with President Trump and Putin? And if you
think it had something to do with Venezuela?
They might have.
I think that this meeting was the meeting that he had with Putin, and what is going on now was a negotiation that he had with President Putin. Why is it that he's not taking any action or anything with Ukraine? This was a trade-off. The trade-off was this. He said to Putin.
But I'm sure Putin would be.
Venezuela.
Yeah, but I'm sure. Okay, no, go ahead. What do you think he said to Putin?
What are you sure about, lady? Come on.
What I think he said to Putin was, I'll take Venezuela and I'll let you have Ukraine. This is exactly what it was planned and agreed on. Now, what's going to happen after this? I don't know. But, I mean, it's really no one knows. This is something, that this administration has created chaos, but there's nothing coming out of this that's good. President Trump sold our country to foreigners. Yeah, he is selling out our country little by little. Yep. And everyone needs to wake up. It's not about Democrats. It's not about Republicans. Right. We need to stand together and come in unison in an agreement that what this country is going to what's going to happen to this country in the foreseeable years is not going to be something good. We already have. We got
that point. This is Joshua, a Republican in Cleveland, Ohio. Go ahead, Joshua.
Oh, I'm listening to all these folks, and I'm like, where do they get all these information from? All I got to say is, this guy was a narco terrorist. The guy was killing American people, and they are complaining about this was a police action. This was a police action. I can see why Democrats don't really don't like him, because I guess they agree with the president of Venezuela, because he's a Democrat, he's a socialist, and I guess.
Oh yeah, we want to destroy America.
They like those kind of guys. So all I gotta say, he did a good job. All these people who are making all these conspiracies need to cut it out.
All right, Joshua, and on your screen you see the reporters are there gathered in anticipation, as we are, of President Trump speaking about the actions taken overnight in Venezuela and the capturing of Maduro and his wife. And we will bring that to you just as soon as he approaches the podium.
Or say they are, anyway.
John, Pompano Beach, Florida, Independent Line. Go ahead, John.
Yes. Happy New Year. Not a great way to start the new year, but where are we going from here? Nobody has an answer to that question. Where are we going from here? Because the thing is, now, what if China takes over Taiwan? Or what if, like the young lady was talking about, what about if it was a negotiation with Putin? Okay, you could take Venezuela and I'll just keep on going with Ukraine. And I think that's where we're headed, but nobody understands what mess this president, if you want to call him president, what he's getting the United States into. Poor are service people that have to go and clean up after his mess. Thank you very much.
On the line for Democrats in Andalusia, Illinois, Bill, you're on the air.
Yeah, it's pretty disheartening that we have a president that feels he can go into any country and do as he wills. And you have Republicans that stand up and root how great this is. They hang on to a church.
That's coming to an end.
And a cross around their neck.
Yeah, I don't like that.
And last I heard is that do unto others as you have done to you. What if somebody came and stole Donald Trump?
Exactly. I said that earlier.
I think there'd be a lot of happy people.
Right.
Have a good day.
Yeah.
Clay in Hernando, Mississippi, Republican. You're on the air, Clay.
Hello, thank you. I just wanted to point out the similarity about Ukraine. That country was actually trying to be taken over by Russia. And what you look and see is that Venezuela is very similar, because Venezuela was taken over by corrupt elections. Even with the previous elections of Hugo Chavez, the people that were from Venezuela were discussing the fact
their
that
business,
those
not
elections
ours.
weren't fair and upright. I had a coworker that I worked with.
That's not our
that
business.
I met that was from Venezuela, and he was an engineer and was a very educated, upstanding person, and I've respected him. And I asked him about why he was had left his country and come to our country. We had been employed at our company for about a year. He told me that Venezuela had been corrupted in so many ways that there were millions of people who left their country because of the socialism policies that had taken over. And basically the government of Maduro was basically just a cartel that was run by just armed guerrillas. They took away all the weapons in the country so that the people couldn't defend themselves. Anybody that protested, they murdered them, and a lot of people left the country and went everywhere. So our country has probably acted in the interest of the condition of our hemisphere, and the fact that the destabilization of Brazil is starting to occur, and all the drugs and stuff that were probably coming, fentanyl was probably coming on those oil tankers. I mean, I can't say that for sure. Who knows? But
of course you can't say that for sure. They just make stuff up.
That have their gross national product basically as drugs and everything is probably coming to an end. All the drug dealers are probably getting notice that, you're out of work this morning. You need to find something else to do. But thank you for letting
me. You mean like gold and oil?
Chuck in Gadsden, Alabama, Independent Line. Go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of people talking about the only reason he's in there is the oil. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
That's what some people are saying.
Here's what I want to ask. Are those people, are they in favor of sending the oil to China? Are they in favor of sending the oil to Iraq? Are they in favor of sending the oil to Cuba? Because that's where it's all going.
I'm in favor of them sending it where they want to send it, not where we want them to send it.
To get back at all
their
those people.
Oil. We can't dictate.
All those countries.
No, we can't dictate to them where to send their oil.
Kentucky.
It's their
Go
oil.
ahead, Barbara.
See there?
Yes, I am appalled. I feel like the same way I felt on January the 6th when I woke up and the current resident in the White House was sending his minions to overthrow our country. Christian nationalism is a perversion of Christianity.
Yeah, it is.
And they're using Christian nationalism to overthrow our government.
Yep.
And I'm just totally appalled. And I am encouraged by the number of Republicans that are calling in that are against the overthrow of our country and the total chaos, which I believe is what our current resident in the White House had planned.
But Barbara, how do you see Christian nationalism playing into what happened in Venezuela overnight?
I'm seeing that these preachers are going in their churches and telling the people who occupy those buildings, which, Christ is the church, they're occupying those buildings, are saying that whatever Trump does is okay because he's working for God.
Oh, yeah, they do that.
Just
they really
when
do.
I see that Trump signs Bibles and auctions off a picture of a white, blue-eyed Jesus, you can see this propaganda being gobbled up by these people that are in these buildings with heads of those buildings telling them that that's Christianity. And we are not a country based on Christianity. We are a country based on religious freedom.
Secularism.
And our country's being destroyed right now. And
all right.
I'm from East.
Barbara, I just got to move on. We got this from J.D. Vance, the vice president, earlier this morning on X. The president offered multiple off-ramps, but was very clear throughout this process. The drug trafficking must stop and the stolen oil must be returned to the United States. Maduro is the newest person to find out that President Trump
they're talking
means
about
what
the stolen
he says.
oil. That's whenever they
Scott
nationalized
in
oil.
In Minnesota, Republican,
it wasn't
you're
stolen,
next.
They nationalized it.
Hi.
Hi.
This is Scott. Yes, I was very much in favor of the president going to Venezuela.
I know I'm in favor of going somewhere else.
He had to warn this individual on what was coming into this country as far as fentanyl and what it was doing to the American people, how many people were dying from it.
From China.
This strike, I mean, the guy had been warned for over a month and a half or better and what was going on, and didn't want to cooperate, didn't want to stop the flow of drugs.
Should
so I
invade
think
Mexico,
what President
too.
Trump did, I'll stand behind him 110%.
Invade
and
China,
those that
invade
don't
Mexico.
stand behind him on this because of the fentanyl, I think are
You mean the
they're not true
cocaine?
Americans.
Because it's mostly
cocaine.
It's mostly cocaine. Yeah.
Cocaine, fentanyl.
Mostly
what's the
cocaine
difference?
and fentanyl.
Oh yeah, listen at it.
You know, and that's what's both of them kill many,
I'm
many,
wrong,
many
but I'm
people.
still right.
And
come on,
I just feel what he did was
Reckless.
true, and like I say, he's been warned many, many times. So
there's other
Got
ways
that
to do
point.
things.
Here's Robert, Westbrook, Maine, Independent Line. Go ahead.
Everybody out there, okay? Trump invaded, and striking Venezuela and capturing the president and his wife because of breaking the law and doing things that are very bad. But yet, Trump is a convicted felon, and he's running the country. What? How is that? How is that possible? A convicted felon goes to another country to stop crime when he did so much crime and
he's a felon
was
in chief.
convicted of it by his peers, and every
That's
single
like
day
pot
he's
calling
doing
Kevin
crazy
Black.
shit. He's a lie. Excuse me. He's a live wire. He should never been in the first place. He wouldn't even be able to get a job. You know, taking out the trash. I'm sorry, but this guy is evil, and there's no better word for it.
That's
And I
right,
have
he is
no
evil.
All right, and let's talk to Devin
Evil.
in Vienna, West Virginia, Democrat. Go ahead, Devin.
Hi. I really think that we kidnap the next president of the United States, really dictator of the United States. I think really we should bring in Xi from China. I mean, that's what the Democrat policy is now.
Oh,
so
shut
I think we
up.
ought to go with that. That's all I got to say. Bye.
How ignorant
Daniel,
can
Staten
you
Island,
get?
New York, Republican.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Daniel.
Ignorant.
Yes, hi. I just want to say President Trump is doing a great job.
Oh,
I mean,
my
all
goodness.
these drugs coming into our country, fentanyl killing hundreds of thousands of people each and every year. It's about time that a United States president stands up to these drug cartels and says enough is enough. It's
have
about
been.
time that we have a president like Trump
Trump's
that says something and he's going to do it. And I'm so
Oh,
proud of calling him
boy.
Mr. President Donald Trump
Mr.
because he's doing a
Peace,
hell of
huh?
a job. Thank you so much.
Says something going to do it.
Jason, Fort
What a
Lauderdale,
laugh.
Florida, Independent Line. You're on the
What
air.
a laugh.
Hi. Yeah, I don't think this is about drugs with
No,
Venezuela.
not oil.
This is about oil.
There you go.
If it was about fentanyl, he would be standing up to China because we all know that China is the biggest importer
Exactly.
of fentanyl.
China's
and
got a big
fentanyl
stick.
comes through the ports, okay? So this is a dog and pony show. I mean, Maduro was a dictator, and, it's good that he's gone, but the Venezuelan people should have freed themselves.
Exactly.
I don't think regime
Exactly.
change
Thank
is good for our image. And as
Yeah,
far
it's their
as
problem,
Trump,
not ours.
I mean, I voted for him twice, but I'm very disappointed with him the second time. Stephen Miller,
Good for
his
you to be
attack on the
disappointed.
Venezuelan community, calling them they haven't done nothing, they're criminals. And I mean, you hear these people, they're so easily duped. They're very easily duped. They're like, yeah, this is about drugs. Well, a monkey knows what tree to climb. If Trump really wanted to go after the fentanyl crisis, he would go after China and say, hey, enough is enough. You guys keep doing this. And we're just going to put on more sanctions or something. But I understand China's another superpower, and it's not that easy. But Venezuela, Maduro's just a puppet.
is it good for
Trump would
Venezuela?
never go
we
after
get
somebody
to see.
who's
We'll
strong.
see.
All right,
but
Jason. And
Trump
here's
only
the
goes after
Associated
weak.
Press. It says Trump told Fox News he spoke to Maduro several times, including most recently a week ago. It says Maduro denied that in an interview on New Year's Eve, saying he had only spoken to Trump in November. And we are standing by to hear from President Trump in Mar-a-Lago. That's the podium there with reporters assembled. And we will take your calls until he gets to the podium. Chris, Antioch, Tennessee, Democrat. Go ahead.
Yes, hi. I'm a Democrat. I'm married to a Venezuelan, and I have a number of Venezuelans and Colombians as in-laws. And I think this could be a good thing for Venezuela, although I disagree with a lot of the stuff that Donald Trump has done. If you look at what Venezuela has been through for the last 26 years with Chavez and Maduro, it's been horrible for Venezuela, and this could be a very good thing.
It's been horrible because of the
for
sanctions
Venezuelans
the United States
and
put
for the
on
United
them.
States.
God,
And I'm just kind of surprised also by the
history book.
misinformation on both sides of the aisle.
Right.
Calls coming in and people comparing this to Gaza or Afghanistan, and this looks to me like it's a police action. And if there's a peaceful transition to democracy, I think this will be a very good thing.
All right, Chris. Doug is next in Falls Church, Virginia, Republican. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning. Thank you all so much for taking my call. I've been listening to you all for most of the morning, and I feel like so many callers are getting this wrong on many levels, right? Venezuela has, I believe, the largest oil reserve in the world. Everyone's talking about that this is mainly about oil. Yes and no. I think the implication that people are saying is that we're going to go down there and take this oil. That's not what's happening, right? The intent of this is to really about regime change. I think it has nothing to do with really drugs. I think that's like maybe tertiary, the fourth reason to do this. It's mainly because we've sanctioned them so much that now they are selling oil at a severe discount to China and then selling to the Cubans at a very, very reduced rate, which is very much propping up both those countries and regimes, which is obviously not in our interest. At the same time, because of how Maduro is treating his people, right, that so many of them are leaving their country and going everywhere. If you look at the Biden administration, millions of Venezuelans have come into our country because they've been trying to escape their own, as well as gone all throughout that region and potentially are destabilizing all those countries around it, whether it's, Chile or Colombia or Venezuela. So many of those different countries, even Argentina, they've had such a massive shift to the right as a direct response to all the migration that is exiting Maduro's Venezuela. At the same time, there's all this gang activity from Tren de Agua that is now going to all this other region. If people were to look at the regional response to this activity, you have people cheering in the streets, like the capital of Chile, applauding this action because Maduro is so severely disliked. And if you look back at the Biden administration, part of what they were trying to do was, push Maduro to have these free and fair elections and trying to have sanction relief being like a trade-off. And they conducted those elections, and Maduro lost resoundingly. I think he got a third of the vote, and the opponent, I think, was that Lopez, got 2/3 of the vote. So people are calling this regime change. It's not. Maduro lost an election, refused to leave, and now this is undoing the coup, basically, that Maduro did by staying in office.
All right.
This is validating those elections.
Here's Mark, West Point, Kentucky, Independent Line. Go ahead, Mark.
Yes, I'm a 68-year-old American. I have been voting since 1976. Since January 6th attack on our capital, I have never in my life seen what I have seen Americans starting to go through. This person in charge, I do believe he is the Antichrist. And when he starts doing nuclear, I pray to God for our world.
Josh in Georgia, Democrat. Go ahead, Josh.
Hey, how are y'all doing? I guess it put me on the Democrat line. I'm Republican, yet independent. I love everything that Trump's doing. My father has actually worked security for multiple details in Macon, Georgia. My grandmother prayed for him every morning. I mean, what he's doing right now is needed because America does not need to look weak. granted, multiple presidents have made us look weak over the past term or years over the past terms. But when I tell you, I appreciate everything Trump's doing. You got to put your boot down sometimes. That's what we got to do. Sick of everybody talking bad about him, saying he's antichrist. Every president was an antichrist before him, and it's just upsetting. I would shake his hand every morning if I could. He's a great person. God loves him, and he is going to keep this country safe, whether he's got to put his boot down once or twice. That's what's got to happen. And I'm going to leave it at that.
And the Republican line in Virginia
That's the only way to
Beach.
solve the problem. Violence.
Sorry,
Put the boot down.
Strattonville, Pennsylvania.
Boot.
Glenn, you're on the air.
Hi, how you doing? Thank you for taking my call today. We've got a lot of people in this country with a lot of messed up thinking, so I'm just going to say what I got to say. Maduro lost the election. You talk about a dictator and a half. Let's talk.
Oh, wait a minute. Something's happening here. Wait a minute. Whenever that happens, that means something is about to happen. Doesn't that make sense? Yeah, but you know what? That's a long history about this with sanctions. That goes back a long way. You see, I'm looking up some stuff right now. Sanctions during the Venezuelan crisis. Here's a Wikipedia article. Okay.
He's a socialist.
Oh, wait a minute.
This is why the Democrats are really upset, because another socialist crony was taken down.
That's
a
not
dictator,
why.
Socialist crony was taken down.
Boy.
The Democrats can't stand it. And I'll tell you why the Democrats weren't notified this was going to happen. Because they're known to leak things.
All right.
Oh, shut
and
up.
This is what President Trump has posted on Truth Social. Nicolas Maduro on board the USS Iwo Jima. And it shows here Nicolas Maduro, he's in sweats. He's got blindfolds over his eyes, and he's got a bottle of water in his hands. This is the only picture it looks like that we've got of him. So that's on President Trump's Truth Social post. Virginia Beach, Virginia, independent line. Is it Nolak?
Yes, this is Nolak. Yes, I'm independent, also retired military. I lean more towards the right, so I'd be, 20, 30 years ago, I'd probably side Democrat. But, I just common sense approach. This is Monroe Doctrine 101. You can't be a communist dictator in our hemisphere. It just is what it is. We had the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1963. It's the same premise. It's the drug.
No, it ain't. That was nukes, buddy.
And you can't flood our country with millions of people. I think Mexico is watching out, is looking over their shoulder now. This is an example of how military can be used as a scalpel rather than just a club. And where I support this, I would really like to see him bring peace between Russia and Ukraine, because the outcome of that is going to be the same regardless. Russia's going to keep what they have. All we're doing is sending people into a meat grinder. I like what he did here, and I would like him to bring peace to the rest of the world.
So when you mentioned Mexico, would you be okay with military action against Mexico?
If it's done the way that this operation was done, quick action, people in and out. I don't want to see basically where it's anarchy and chaos in the street, but it seems that their leaders pretty much look at us as a joke. They flood us with millions of people. They just let it happen. And I understand that they were pretty much given a green light by the last administration. But if it's done like this and there's an actual plan for a succession where you see Venezuela, Maduro clearly did lose an election. If it was something where the people are actually supporting it, which you've been seeing in the last 3 or 4 weeks in Mexico, people are fed up over there. Mexico is artificially suppressed in the same way that Venezuela was. They've never had freedom in that part of the country, so they don't know really what to subscribe to. If we gave them a plan of, hey, this is what your country could be, I would definitely support it. Not if it's just going to be like, we're going to remove a dictator and then whatever fills a vacuum. No, I would not.
Roger, Newport, Kentucky, Democrat. Go ahead, Roger.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. First of all, just to the last caller, I think the people in Mexico and Venezuela would disagree. They definitely have had freedom and liberty at some point in their past. As a Democrat, I fully am glad that Maduro's gone. This is good for the Venezuelan people. but this could have been done in a better way. This could have been done with coordination by regional partners. We also could have relied on the UN, and we could have gotten approval from Congress to do this before executing it. Overall, though,
Trump is the government. Why go through Congress?
Thank you.
Trump's king. Trump's the king of the
Angela,
world. He can do anything he
Abbottstown,
wants.
Pennsylvania, Republican.
Not
Hi,
consult
Angela.
anybody.
Hi, I'm not from Abbottstown. I'm from Chambersburg. Sorry.
But still Pennsylvania, right?
No.
It is still Pennsylvania, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay.
I just want to say, first of all, I live in the greatest country in the world. Okay? And I sat here and for the last half hour, and I've listened to so many people tear down our president and what he's doing. You know, Abraham Lincoln once said, "A country divided cannot stand." And I look at this country, and it saddens me that we live in the greatest country in the world, but
so we should back a
are
crook
divided.
then so we won't have division. Yeah,
Democrats, Republicans come together. Okay.
We'll quit backing a
We live in the
crook.
greatest country in the world, and
Quit backing a
we
criminal.
put down our president. I'm proud of our president.
I'm
yeah,
not. I
he's
think he
brash
sucks.
at times. Yeah, he's mouthy at times. But I
Mouthy.
trust him, and I believe that he's doing what's best for my freedom. Okay? If anybody does not appreciate their freedoms, then you shouldn't live in the United States. If you want to
get
live in
outta
a
here.
socialistic country where you're controlled, where your guns are
Socialistic.
taken away, if you want to live in a place like Venezuela, please be my guest and leave. Because you know what? If
You'll
you
pay
don't
my
appreciate
fare.
your country, you cannot be a true American.
All right, and the
Hey, you
Associated
don't
Press
know nothing
has
about appreciating
this.
countries.
Several callers have brought up the
I'm a
pardoning
veteran.
of the ex-Honduran president. It says that Trump's dramatic action against Maduro is the polar opposite of the clemency he granted to former Honduran President Hernandez.
Right.
Trump in December pardoned Hernandez,
Right.
though
Why
he
did he
was
pardon
sentenced to
Maduro,
45 years
huh?
in prison for helping drug traffickers to safely move hundreds of tons of cocaine
what about
north
that?
through his country to the U.S. Hernandez, who enjoyed support from officials in the first Trump administration, was convicted by a U.S. jury in New York, which Maduro is now set to face.
Oh, boy.
When asked in an interview with Politico about the pardon, Trump said, quote, "I don't know him, and I know very little about him," but added that he was told that Hernandez, quote, was set up. The country deals in drugs, like probably you could say that about every country, and because he was the president, they gave him like 45 years in prison. That's a quote from President Trump. Patrick is calling us from Columbus, Ohio, independent line. Go ahead.
They can wait. They can't.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
They can't
just want to
pardon
bring up a point no one's really
state
talked
thing.
about. Venezuela has one of the world's largest gold deposits.
Right, gold.
There was a Canadian company called Crystal X International Corporation. There's been multiple legal fights over this reserve going back and forth. But I just want to bring up that point that there's a lot of resources there. I hope the best for Venezuela and the United States of America, but I just want to bring that up.
And here's Michael in Smyrna, Georgia, Republican. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, I think it's a great day for the U.S. and a great day for the world. We've got a dictator who basically ran the country into the ground. Venezuelans have been trying to leave into the U.S. and other countries for years under the Chavez regime as well as Maduro regime. And so I think that the world should take notice that President Trump is doing exactly what he was supposed to do, and that is restore peace to the world. I don't understand some of these other callers that have been calling and trying to slam Trump for not doing his job. I don't see how you have sympathizers with a dictator who has basically starved his people and ran drugs across into the U.S. and other countries.
Trump's
and
methods.
think, well, that's a bad thing that Trump did. We should be basically rejoicing in what happened today. And I'm excited to hear what Trump has to say about it. But I think the rest of the world, and the caller you just mentioned talked about Mexico, I think Mexico should really be watching as well, because they should be helping us. Mexico has been a corrupt country for decades, and they have basically been turning a blind eye to all the drugs that have been either manufactured there, fentanyl coming in from China, and we have to stop all this. But Mexican and other countries turn a blind eye because they're corrupt, and we know that. So we're taking out these corrupt leaders one by one, and I can only congratulate Trump for doing that. That's what I wanted to say.
All right, Michael, let's go to the line for Democrats. Atlantic Beach, Florida. Sarah, good morning, Sarah.
Hi there. I think it's really naive to think that taking down one person is going to have any impact at all on drugs in the United States. People aren't doing drugs because it's available. We're doing it because we're broken. We have no money. Everything is difficult, and that's there. We have mental health crises. We have health crises, and so I don't understand how America first, instead of focusing on what can we do to get to the root of these problems and make it so that people don't feel the need to do drugs, right? It's just one person is not going to stop the flow of drugs into the United States. It's not going to slow down the overdose deaths at all.
Right, Sarah, we are going to go ahead and end the show here because President Trump has approached the podium. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Yeah, let's
late last night and early today, at my direction, the United States Armed Forces conducted an extraordinary military operation in the capital of Venezuela. Overwhelming American military power, air, land, and sea, was used to launch a spectacular assault. And it was an assault like people have not seen since World War II.
Shouldn't use the words like spectacular.
It was a force against a heavily fortified military fortress in the heart of Caracas to bring outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro to justice. This was one of the most stunning, effective, and powerful displays of American military might and competence in American history. And if you think about it, we've done some other good ones, like the attack on Soleimani, the attack on al-Baghdadi, and the obliteration and decimation of the Iran nuclear sites just recently in an operation known as Midnight Hammer. All perfectly executed and done. No nation in the world could achieve what America achieved yesterday, or frankly, in just a short period of time.
Oh, boy.
All Venezuelan military capacities were rendered powerless as the men and women of our military, working with U.S. law enforcement, successfully captured Maduro in the dead of night. It was dark. The lights of Caracas were largely turned off due to a certain expertise that we have. It was dark and it was deadly. But captured along with his wife, Celia Flores, both of whom now face American justice. Maduro and Flores have been indicted in the Southern District of New York, Jay Clayton, for their campaign of deadly narco-terrorism against the United States and its citizens. I want to thank the men and women of our military who achieved such an extraordinary success overnight with breathtaking speed, power, precision, and competence. You rarely see anything like it. You've seen some raids in this country that didn't go so well. They were an embarrassment. If you look back to Afghanistan, or if you look back to the Jimmy Carter days, they were different days. We're a respected country again, maybe like never before. These highly trained warriors, operating in collaboration with U.S. law enforcement, caught them in a very ready position. They were waiting for us. They knew we had many ships out in the sea, just sort of waiting. They knew we were coming. So they were in what's called a ready position. But they were completely overwhelmed and very quickly incapacitated. If you would have seen what I saw last night, you would have been very impressed. I'm not sure that you'll ever get to see it, but it was an incredible thing to see. Not a single American service member was killed, and not a single piece of American equipment was lost. We had many helicopters, many planes, many people involved in that fight. But think of that, not one piece of military equipment was lost, not one service member was, more importantly, killed. The United States military is the strongest and most fearsome military on the planet by far. With capabilities and skills our enemies can scarcely begin to imagine. We have the best equipment anywhere in the world. There's no equipment like what we have. And you see that even if you just look at the boats. You know, we've knocked out 97% of the drugs coming in by sea. 90%. Each boat kills on average, 25,000 people. We knocked out 97%. And those drugs mostly come from a place called Venezuela. We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And it has to be judicious because that's what we're all about.
Oh, yeah,
we want peace, liberty, and justice for the great people of Venezuela.
And that oil.
And that includes many from Venezuela that are now living in the United States.
Gold. They want the
and
gold.
Want to go back to their country. It's their homeland.
They want the oil.
We can't take a chance that somebody else takes over Venezuela that doesn't have the good of the Venezuelan people in mind. We've had decades of that. We're not going to let that happen. We're there now, and what people don't understand, but they understand as I say this, we're there now, but we're going to stay until such time as the proper transition can take place. So we're going to stay until such time as we're going to run it, essentially, until such time as a proper transition can take place. As everyone knows, the oil business in Venezuela has been a bust, a total bust, for a long period of time. They were pumping almost nothing by comparison to what they could have been pumping.
There was a sanctions
and what could have taken place.
God dang, there were sanctions on
We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world.
What about it?
Go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure, the oil infrastructure, and start making money for the country. And we are ready to stage a second and much larger attack if we need to do so. So we were prepared to do a second wave if we needed to do so. We actually assumed that a second wave would be necessary, but now it's probably not. The first wave, if you'd like to call it that, the first attack was so successful, we probably don't have to do a second, but we're prepared to do a second wave, a much bigger wave, actually. This was pinpoint, but we have a much bigger wave that probably won't have to do. This partnership of Venezuela with the United States of America, a country that everybody wants to be involved with because of what we were able to do and accomplish, will make the people of Venezuela rich, independent, and safe. And it will also make the many, many people from Venezuela that are living in the United States extremely happy. They suffered. They suffered. So much was taken from them. They're not going to suffer anymore. The illegitimate dictator Maduro was the kingpin of a vast criminal network responsible for trafficking colossal amounts of deadly and illicit drugs into the United States.
That's to be proven
as alleged in the indictment, he personally oversaw the vicious cartel known as Cartel de las Solas, which flooded our nation with lethal poison, responsible for the deaths of countless Americans, the many, many Americans. Hundreds of thousands over the years of Americans died because of him. Maduro and his wife will soon face the full might of American justice and stand trial on American soil. Right now, they're on a ship they'll be heading to, ultimately, New York, and then a decision will be made, I assume, between New York and Miami or Florida. But we have people where the overwhelming evidence of their crimes will be presented in a court of law. And I've seen it. I've seen what we have. It's both horrible and breathtaking that something like this could have been allowed to take place. For many years after his term as president of Venezuela expired, Maduro remained in power and waged a ceaseless campaign of violence, terror, and subversion against the United States of America, threatening not only our people, but the stability of the entire region. And you all saw it. In addition to trafficking gigantic amounts of illegal drugs that inflicted untold suffering and human destruction all over the country, all over, in particular, the United States, Maduro sent savage and murderous gangs, including the bloodthirsty prison gang, Tren de Aragua, to terrorize American communities nationwide. And he did indeed. They were in Colorado. They took over apartment complexes. They cut the fingers off people if they called police. They were brutal, but they're not so brutal now. And I just have to congratulate our military, Pete and everybody, and our National Guard, because the job that they've done, whether it's in Washington, D.C., where we have a totally safe city, where it was one of the most unsafe cities anywhere in the world, frankly, and now we have no crime in Washington, D.C. We haven't had a killing. We had the terrorist attack a few weeks ago. A little bit of a different kind of a threat, but we haven't had a killing in a long period of time, 6-7 months. We used to have two, on average, 2 a week in Washington, our capital. We don't have that anymore. The restaurants are opening. Everyone's happy. They're going, they're walking their daughters, they're walking their children, their wives. They walk to restaurants. Restaurants are opening all over Washington, D.C. So I want to thank the National Guard. I want to thank our military. And I want to thank law enforcement. Been amazing. And they should do it with more cities. We're doing it, as you know, and we're doing it in Memphis, Tennessee right now, and crime is down. We've just sort of started a few weeks ago, but crime is down now 77%. And the governor of Louisiana called, great person, and he wanted us to help him, as you know, in a certain very nice part of Louisiana. And we have done that. And it was a rough section, and we have crime down. I understand it's down to almost nothing already after 2.5 weeks. New Orleans, it's down to almost nothing. And we've only been there for 2.5 weeks. Can't imagine why governors wouldn't want us to help. We also helped, as you know, in Chicago, and crime went down a little bit there. We did a very small help because we had no working ability with the governor. The governor was a disaster, and the mayor was a disaster. But it knocked down crime. But we're pulling out of there. When they need us, we'll know. You'll know. You'll be writing about it. Yeah, and likewise, Los Angeles, where we saved Los Angeles early on, where the head of the police department made a statement that if the federal government didn't come in, we would have lost Los Angeles. That's long after the fires. That's when they had the riots in Los Angeles. We did a great job. Got no credit for it whatsoever, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. We don't need the credit. But we'll be pulling out when they need us. They'll call, or we'll go back if we have to. We'll go back. But we did a great job in various cities. But the place that we're very proud of is Washington, D.C., because it's our nation's capital. We took it from being a crime-ridden mess to being one of the safest cities in the country. But the gangs that they sent raped, tortured, and murdered American women and children. They were in all of the cities I mentioned.
It's in purpose, too.
And they were sent by Maduro to terrorize our people, and now Maduro will never again be able to threaten an American citizen or anybody from Venezuela. There will no longer be threats. For years, I've highlighted the stories of those innocent Americans whose lives were so heartlessly robbed by this Venezuelan terrorist organization. Really one of the worst. One of the worst. They say the worst. Americans like 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungary from Houston. Beautiful Jocelyn Nungary, what happened to her? They, as you know, they kidnapped, assaulted, and murdered by Tren de Aragua animals. They murdered Jocelyn and left her dead under the bridge. There was a bridge that will never be the same to so many people after seeing what happened. As I've said many times, the Maduro regime emptied out their prisons, sent their worst and most violent monsters into the United States to steal American lives.
I don't know about that.
And they came from mental institutions and insane asylums. They came from
That's propaganda.
prisons
I don't
and
believe
jails.
that.
The reason I say both, they sound similar. Actually, prisons a little bit more hostile, a little bit tougher. A mental institution isn't as tough as an insane asylum, but we got them both. They sent from their mental institutions. They sent from their jails, prisons. They were drug dealers. They were drug kingpins. They sent everybody bad into the United States, but no longer. And we have now a border where nobody gets through. In addition, Venezuela unilaterally seized and stole American oil, American assets, and American platforms, costing us billions and billions of dollars.
I'll show you about that in a minute.
They did this a while ago, but we never had a president that did anything about it. They took all of our property. It was our property. We built it. And we never had a president that decided to do anything about it. Instead, they fought wars that were 10,000 miles away. We built Venezuela oil industry with American talent, drive, and skill, and the socialist regime stole it from us during those previous administrations, and they stole it through force. This constituted one of the largest thefts of American property in the history of our country. Considered the largest theft of property in the history of our country. Massive oil infrastructure was taken like we were babies, and we didn't do anything about it. I would have done something about it. America will never allow foreign powers to rob our people or drive us back into and out of our own hemisphere. That's what they did. Furthermore, under the now deposed dictator Maduro, Venezuela was increasingly hosting foreign adversaries in our region and acquiring menacing offensive weapons that could threaten U.S. interests and lives. And they used those weapons last night. Potentially in league with the cartels operating along our border. All of these actions were in gross violation of the core principles of American foreign policy, dating back more than 2 centuries. And not anymore.
2 centuries.
All the way back, it dated to the Monroe Doctrines. And the Monroe Doctrine is a big deal. But we've superseded it by a lot.
Big deal there, big deal.
By a real lot.
Real
they now
lot.
call it the Monroe Document. I don't know.
Monroe Doctrine. What's this guy? What an
Monroe
ego.
Doctrine.
What a fathead.
We sort of forgot about it. It was very important, but we forgot about it. We don't forget about it anymore. Under our new national security strategy, American dominance in the Western Hemisphere will never be questioned again. Won't happen. So just in concluding, for decades, other administrations have neglected or even contributed to these growing security threats in the Western Hemisphere. Under the Trump administration, we are reasserting American power in a very powerful way in our home region. And our home region is very different than it was just a short while ago. The future will be, and we did this in my first term. We had great dominance in my first term, and we have far greater dominance right now. Everyone's coming back to us. The future will be determined by the ability to protect commerce and territory and resources that are core to national security. These are core to our national security. Just like tariffs are, they've made our country rich, and they've made our national security stronger than ever before.
Yeah, whatever.
But these are the iron laws that have always determined global power. And we're going to keep it that way. We will secure our borders. We will stop the terrorists. We will crash the cartels, and we will defend our citizens against all threats, foreign and domestic. Other presidents may have lacked the courage or whatever to defend America.
Or whatever.
But I will never allow terrorists and criminals to operate with impunity against the United States.
Well, then get out of office.
This extremely successful operation should serve as warning to anyone who would threaten American sovereignty or endanger American lives. Very importantly, the embargo on all Venezuelan oil remains in full effect. The American Armada remains poised in position, and the United States retains all military options until United States demands have been fully met and fully satisfied. All political and military figures in Venezuela should understand what happened to Maduro can happen to them, and it will happen to them if they aren't just, fair, even to their people. The dictator and terrorist Maduro is finally gone, and Venezuela people are free. They're free again. It's been a long time for them, but they're free. America is a safer nation this morning. It's a prouder nation this morning because it didn't allow this horrible person and this country that was doing very bad things to us. It didn't allow it to happen. And the Western Hemisphere is right now a much safer place to be. So I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank General Raisin Kane. He's a fantastic man. I've worked with a lot of generals. I worked with some I didn't like. I worked with some I didn't respect. I worked with some that just weren't good. But this guy is fantastic. I watched last night one of the most precise attacks on sovereignty. I mean, it was an attack for justice. And I'm very proud of him, and I'm very proud of our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, who I'm going to ask to say a few words. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, can you explain how the U.S. will run Venezuela?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Finally, a commander-in-chief the world respects and the American people deserve. And as the President said, words can barely capture the bravery and the power and the precision of this historic operation. A massive joint military and law enforcement raid flawlessly executed by the greatest Americans our country has to offer. American warriors are second to none, the best in the world and the best of our country. What all of us witnessed last night was sheer guts and grit, gallantry, and glory of the American warrior. I'm simply humbled by such men. And I tip my hat to our chairman, Dan Raisin Kane, and all those Americans who stood watch last night. Our warriors are the elite of America, and again, President Trump has your back. No other country on planet Earth, and it's not even close, could pull this kind of operation off. And no other president has ever shown this kind of leadership, courage, and resolve, the most powerful combination the world has ever seen. As the president said, our adversaries remain on notice. America can project our will anywhere, anytime. The coordination, the stealth, the lethality, the precision, the very long arm of American justice, all on full display in the middle of the night.
Yeah, there's something else on display.
Nicolas Maduro had his chance, just like Iran had their chance, until they didn't and until he didn't.
Oh, what's that mean?
He effed around, and he found out.
But Iran's next now,
President Trump is deadly serious about stopping the flow of gangs and violence to our country. Deadly serious about stopping the flow of drugs and poison to our people. Deadly serious about getting back the oil that was stolen from us. And deadly serious about reestablishing American deterrence and dominance in the Western Hemisphere. This is about the safety, security, freedom, and prosperity of the American people. This is America first. This is peace through strength. And the United States War Department is proud to help deliver it. Welcome to 2026. And under President Trump, America is back. I'd like to welcome now our chairman, Chairman Raisin Kane, to give a few more details about the operation. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning. Last night, on the order of the President of the United States and in support of a request from the Department of Justice, as the President said, the United States military conducted an apprehension mission in Caracas, Venezuela, to bring to justice two indicted persons, Nicolas and Cecilia Maduro. This operation, known as Operation Absolute Resolve, was discreet, precise, and conducted during the darkest hours of January 2nd and was the culmination of months of planning and rehearsal, an operation that, frankly, only the United States military could undertake. What I'd like to do this morning is talk to you through some of the preparation and the details without compromising any of our tactics, techniques, and procedures. There is always a chance that we'll be tasked to do this type of mission again. Our interagency work began months ago and built on decades of experience of integrating complex air, ground, space, and maritime operations. While the past 2 decades have honed the skills of our special operations forces, this particular mission required every component of our joint force, with soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians working in unison with our intelligence agency partners and law enforcement teammates in an unprecedented operation. We leveraged our unmatched intelligence capabilities and our years of experience in hunting terrorists, and we could not have done this mission without the incredible work by various intelligence agencies, including the CIA, NSA, and NGA. We watched, we waited, we prepared, we remained patient and professional. This mission was meticulously planned, drawing lessons from decades of missions over the last many years, many missions over these last many years. This was an audacious operation that only the United States could do.
They keep saying
it required the utmost of precision and integration within our joint force. And the word integration does not explain the sheer complexity of such a mission. An extraction so precise it involved more than 150 aircraft launching across the Western Hemisphere in close coordination, all coming together in time and place to layer effects for a single purpose: to get an interdiction force into downtown Caracas while maintaining the element of tactical surprise. Failure of one component of this well-oiled machine would have endangered the entire mission, and failure is never an option for America's joint force. Those in the air over Caracas last night were willing to give their lives for those on the ground and in the helicopters. Let me talk a little bit about the preparation. After months of work by our intelligence teammates to find Maduro and understand how he moved, where he lived, where he traveled, what he ate, what he wore, what were his pets. In early December, our force was set pending a series of aligned events. Key was choosing the right day to minimize the potential for civilian harm and maximize the element of surprise, and minimize the harm to the indicted personnel so, as the President said, they could be brought to justice. And as the President said earlier today, weather in Venezuela is always a factor this time of the year. And over the weeks through Christmas and New Year's, the men and women of the United States military sat ready, patiently waiting for the right triggers to be met and the President to order us into action. Last night, the weather broke just enough, clearing a path that only the most skilled aviators in the world could maneuver through. Ocean, mountain, low cloud ceilings. But when tasked with a mission, this organization does not quit. At 10:46 p.m. Eastern Time last night, the President ordered the United States military to move forward with this mission. He said to us, and we appreciate it, Mr. President, good luck and Godspeed. And those words were transmitted to the entire joint force. Over the course of the night, aircraft began launching from 20 different bases on land and sea across the Western Hemisphere. In total, more than 150 aircraft, bombers, fighters, intelligence, reconnaissance, surveillance, rotary wing were in the air last night. Thousands and thousands of hours of experience were airborne. Our youngest crew member was 20, and our oldest crew member was 49, and there's simply no match for American military might. As the night began, the helicopters took off with the extraction force, which included law enforcement officers, and began their flight into Venezuela at 100 feet above the water. As they approached Venezuelan shores, the United States began layering different effects provided by Spacecom, Cybercom, and other members of the interagency to create a pathway. Overhead, those forces were protected by aircraft from the United States Marines, the United States Navy, the United States Air Force, and the Air National Guard. The force included F-22s, F-35s, F-18s, EA-18s, E-2s, B-1 bombers, and other support aircraft, as well as numerous remotely piloted drones. As the force began to approach Caracas, the Joint Air Component began dismantling and disabling the air defense systems in Venezuela, employing weapons to ensure the safe passage of the helicopters into the target area. The goal of our air component was, and always will be to protect the helicopters and the ground force and get them to the target and get them home. As the force crossed the last point of high terrain where they'd been hiding in the clutter, we assessed that we had maintained totally the element of surprise. As the helicopter force ingressed towards the objective at low level, we arrived at Maduro's compound at 1:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 2:01 a.m. Caracas local time, and the apprehension force descended into Maduro's compound and moved with speed, precision, and discipline towards their objective, and isolated the area to ensure the safety and security of the ground force while apprehending the indicted persons. On arrival into the target area, the helicopters came under fire, and they replied with that fire with overwhelming force in self-defense. One of our aircraft was hit but remained flyable, and as the President said earlier today, all of our aircraft came home, and that aircraft remained flyable during the rest of the mission. As the operation unfolded at the compound, our air and ground intelligence teams provided real-time updates to the ground force, ensuring those forces could safely navigate the complex environment without unnecessary risk. The force remained protected by overhead tactical aviation. Maduro and his wife, both indicted, gave up and were taken into custody by the Department of Justice, assisted by our incredible U.S. military with professionalism and precision, with no loss of U.S. life. After securing the indicted persons, the force began to prep for departure. Helicopters were called in to exfiltrate the extraction force, while fighter aircraft and remotely piloted aircraft provided overhead coverage and suppressive fire. There were multiple self-defense engagements as the force began to withdraw out of Venezuela. The force successfully exfiltrated and returned to their afloat launch bases, and the force was over the water at 3:29 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with indicted persons on board. And both Maduro and his wife were embarked aboard the USS Iwo Jima. In closing, what we've witnessed today is a powerful demonstration of America's joint force. We think, we develop, we train, we rehearse, we debrief, we rehearse again and again, not to get it right, but to ensure that we cannot get it wrong. Our jobs are to integrate combat power so when the order comes, we can deliver overwhelming force at the time and the place of our choosing against any foe anywhere in the world. I am immensely proud today of our joint force and filled with gratitude to represent them here today. There is simply no mission too difficult for these incredible professionals and the families that stand by them and support them. As we stand here this morning, our forces remain in the region at a high state of readiness, prepared to project power, defend themselves, and our interests in the region. This operation is a testament to the dedication and unwavering commitment to justice and our resolve to hold accountable those who threaten peace and stability. In closing, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to the brave men and women who executed this mission. Their courage and tireless commitment to our nation are what makes us strong. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and thank you, Mr. President.
Well, I don't have much to add to what you've heard now, other than the following points. Nicolas Maduro was indicted in 2020 in the United States. He is not the legitimate president of Venezuela. That's not just us saying it. The first Trump administration, the Biden administration, the second Trump administration, none of those three recognized him. He's not recognized by the European Union and multiple countries around the world. He is a fugitive of American justice with a $50 million reward, which I guess we saved $50 million. And
make sure.
Yeah, exactly. But
don't let anybody claim it. Nobody deserves it but us.
But I want to be clear about one thing. Nicolas Maduro had multiple opportunities to avoid this. He was provided multiple very, very, very generous offers and chose instead to act like a wild man, chose instead to play around. And the result is what we saw tonight. The other message here is the following. You have a guy, like many people around the world, they like to play games. You have a guy who decides he's going to invite Iran into his country, is going to, do the confiscation of American oil companies, is going to flood our country with gang members, is going to take Americans prisoner and try to hold them for hostage and trade them like he was able to do with the Biden administration. Basically likes to play games all this time and thinks nothing's going to happen. And I hope what people now understand is that we have a president. The 47th president of the United States is not a game player. When he tells you that he's going to do something, when tells you he's going to address a problem, he means it. He actions it. I can tell you, I've watched this process now for 14, 15 years, been around it. Everybody talks. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. When I get there, we're going to do this. We're going to take. This is a president of action. Like, I don't understand yet how they haven't figured this out. And now, if you don't know, now you know. Because this is the way it's going to play out. And I think people need to understand that this is not a president that just talks and does letters and press conferences. And, if he says he's serious about something, he means it. And this is something that was a direct threat to the national interest of the United States, and the president addressed it. There's a president of peace, by the way. I told you what I just said earlier. This guy had multiple opportunities to find his way somewhere else and figure out another. He could have been living somewhere else right now, very happy, but instead he wanted to play big boy. And so now, he's got other sets of problems on his hands. And but I think the message here should be for the world. Look, the president doesn't go out looking for people to pick fights with. He's not generally wants to get along with everybody. We'll talk and meet with anybody. But don't play games. Don't play games with this president's in office because it's not going to turn out well. And so I hope that, I guess that lesson was learned last night, and we hope it'll be instructive moving forward.
He sounds like he's talking about the frickin' mob.
Mr. President, you said that the U.S. is going to run Venezuela. So who's in power right now?
Yeah. Well, we're going to be running it with a group, and we're going to make sure it's run properly. We're going to rebuild the oil infrastructure, which will cost billions of dollars. It'll be paid for by the oil companies directly. They will be reimbursed for what they're doing, but that's going to be paid. And we're going to get the oil flowing the way it should be. As you know, it was just a minor flow. It was actually a minor flow for what they have. But we're going to run it properly, and we're going to make sure the people of Venezuela are taken care of. We're going to make sure the people that were forced out of Venezuela by this thug are also taken care of.
Mr. President, does the U.S. running the country mean that U.S. troops will be on the ground? How will that work?
Well, they always say boots on the ground. So we're not afraid of boots on the ground if we have to have. We had boots on the ground last night at a very high level, actually. We're not afraid of it. We don't mind saying it. But we're going to make sure that that country is run properly. We're not doing this in vain. This is a very dangerous attack. This is an attack that could have gone very, very badly. Could have gone very badly. We could have lost a lot of people last night. We could have lost a lot of dignity. We could have lost a lot of equipment. The equipment is less important, but we could have lost a lot. And we're going to make sure that this is proper. We're there now. We're ready to go again if we have to. We're going to run the country right. It's going to be run very judiciously, very fairly. It's going to make a lot of money. We're going to give money to the people. We're going to reimburse people that were taken advantage of. We're going to take care of everybody. It's very important. We couldn't let them get away with it. You know, they stole our oil. We built that whole industry there, and they just took it over like we were nothing. And we had a president that decided not to do anything about it. So we did something about it. We're late, but we did something about it. Yeah, please.
Can you explain the exact mechanism by which you're going to run the country? Are you going to designate a U.S. official to coordinate?
Yes, it's all being done right now. We're designating people. We're talking to people. We're designating various people, and we're going to let you know who those people are.
That would run Venezuela?
Well, it's largely going to be, for a period of time, the people that are standing right behind me. We're going to be running it. We're going to be bringing it back. It's a dead, I talk about a dead country. A year and a half ago, we were a dead country. Now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're a country doing better than any country anywhere in the world. And it required leadership. Venezuela has a lot of bad people in there, a lot of bad people that shouldn't be leading. We're not going to take a chance that one of those people take over for Maduro. So you can look at, and others, we have fantastic people, including people in the military. So we're going to have a group of people running it until such time as it can be put back on track, make a lot of money for the people, and give people a great way of life, and also reimbursement for people in our country that were forced out of Venezuela.
Rubio would be...
You said earlier today that you weren't going to back Machado to come back and be the opposition leader in your Fox and Friends interview. And then you also mentioned the vice president of Venezuela. Are you going to work with the vice president of Venezuela, or how do you foresee the relationship going?
I understand she was just sworn in, but she was, as you know, picked by Maduro. So Marco's working on that directly. He just had a conversation with her, and she's essentially willing to do what we think is necessary to make Venezuela great again. Very simple.
Mr. President, Colombian President Gustavo Petro, a couple weeks ago, you said he's got to watch his ass. And today he said he's not concerned about anything happening to him in the aftermath of this operation. So just what your message is about that.
He has cocaine mills. He has factories where he makes cocaine. And, yeah, I think I stick by my first statement. He's making cocaine. They're sending it into the United States. So he does have to watch his ass.
Mr. President, did you notify any members of Congress in advance?
Marco, do you want to talk about that? Because you were involved in it.
Sure. We call members of Congress immediately after. This was not the kind of mission that you can do congressional notification on. It was a trigger-based mission in which conditions had to be met night after night. We watched and monitored that for a number of days. So it's just simply not the kind of mission you can call people and say, hey, we may do this at some point in the next 15 days. But it's largely a law enforcement function. Remember, at the end of the day, at its core, this was an arrest of 2 indicted fugitives of American justice, and the Department of War supported the Department of Justice in that job. Now, there are broader policy implications here, but it's just not the kind of mission that you can pre-notify because it endangers the mission.
Plus, if I could add one thing to that, Congress has a tendency to leak. This would not be good. If they leaked, General, I think it would have been maybe a very different result. But I have to say, they knew we were coming at some point, We had a lot of ships out there. They sort of knew we were coming. We went through. But Congress will leak, and we don't want leakers.
President, you were one of the only people to watch this all play out live. What was Maduro doing when the U.S. forces entered what I assume would be his home? And also, was there any point where the U.S. was considering if Maduro pushed back or resisted killing Maduro?
It could have happened. It could have happened. He was trying to get into a safe place. The safe place is all steel. And he wasn't able to make it to the door because our guys were so fast. They went through the opposition so fast. And there was a lot of opposition. People were wondering, do we get them by surprise? Sort of surprised, but they were waiting for something. There was a lot of opposition. There was a lot of gunfire. You saw some of it today. But he was trying to get to a safe place, which wasn't safe because we would have had the door blown up in about 47 seconds, they say on average, regardless of how thick the steel was. It was a very thick door. It was a very heavy door, but he was unable to get to that door. He made it to the door. He was unable to close it.
So Go
ahead, finish.
Where is Maduro going to be in the time being right now? Do you know his exact whereabouts?
Well, eventually, ultimately, in the near future, he's going to be brought to New York.
And where is he going to be held? Where is he going to be held in New York? Do you know?
That's going to be up to the officials that do these things.
Mr. President, the U.S. has something of a mixed track record of ousting dictators without necessarily a plan for what comes afterwards. Did that weigh on your decision?
Well, that's why we had different presidents, but with me, that's not true. With me, we've had a perfect track record of winning. We win a lot, and we win. If you look at Soleimani, you look at al-Baghdadi, you look at the Midnight Hammer. Midnight Hammer was incredible. Right now, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. We have essentially peace in the Middle East because of that. If we weren't successful with Midnight Hammer, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East.
That's why they have riots in Iran.
Me, you've had a lot of victory. You've had only victories. You've had no losses. Yeah.
President, how long do you expect the U.S. to run Venezuela, and how soon do you want Venezuelan people to hold elections?
So I'd like to do it quickly, but it takes a period of time. You know, we're rebuilding. We have to rebuild their whole infrastructure. The infrastructure is rotted. It's actually very dangerous. It's blow-up territory. Oil is very dangerous. It's a very dangerous thing to take out of the ground. It can kill a lot of people. It has killed a lot of people doing just that. The infrastructure is old. It's rotted. Much of it is stuff that we put there 25 years ago, and we're going to be replacing it. And we're going to take a lot of money out so that we can take care of the country. Yeah.
Are you saying that Secretary Rubio and
Mr. President, China, Russia, and Iran have interests in Venezuela. How does this operation affect your relationships with them when it comes to the oil and the drugs?
And Russia, Russia when we get things straightened out. But in terms of other countries that want oil, we're in the oil business. We're going to sell it to them. We're not going to say we're not going to give it to them. In other words, we'll be selling oil probably in much larger doses because they couldn't produce very much because their infrastructure was so bad. So we'll be selling large amounts of oil to other countries, many of whom are using it now, but I would say many more will come.
Are you saying that, Mr. President, are you saying that?
Mr. President, thank you. What is your message to the people of Venezuela today? Of course, the civilian population specifically, they have a lot of questions. What is your message to the people of Venezuela?
That you're going to have peace, justice. You're going to have some of the riches that you should have had for a long period of time. It was stolen from you. But you're going to have peace, and you're going to have safety. You're going to have justice. You're going to have a country. You're going to have a real country. You're going to have potentially a great country. You know, if you go back 20 years, maybe even a little longer ago, that was a great country, and they destroyed it. Remember I said that if we lose this election, the United States will be Venezuela on steroids. That's what would have happened. Had we lost the election, the 2024 election, we suffered so badly. When you look at the border from 2020, what they did, what Joe Biden administration did to our country should never be forgotten. But if we had to go through another year of that, we would be exactly where Venezuela was in terms. I used to say, if they win, we're going to be Venezuela on steroids, and that's what would have happened.
President, thank you. Are you saying that Secretary Hegseth and Rubio are going to be running Venezuela, and will you be sending in U.S. military troops to provide?
Team that's working with the people of Venezuela to make sure that we have Venezuela right. Because for us to just leave, who's going to take over? I mean, there is nobody to take over. You have a vice president who's been appointed by Maduro. And right now she's the vice president, and she's, I guess, the president. She was sworn in as president just a little while ago. She had a long conversation with Marco, and she said, we'll do whatever you need. I think she was quite gracious, but she really doesn't have a choice. We're going to have this done right. We're not going to just do this with Maduro, then leave like everybody else, leave and say, let it go to hell. If we just left, it has zero chance of ever coming back. We'll run it properly. We'll run it professionally. We'll have the greatest oil companies in the world go in and invest billions and billions of dollars and take out money, use that money in Venezuela. And the biggest beneficiary are going to be the people of Venezuela. And also, I can't stress this strongly enough, the people that got thrown out of Venezuela that are now in the United States, and frankly, some want to stay and some probably want to go back. Yeah.
anything done to protect Americans in the country, and were any of the detained Americans?
Well, right now they're very protected because nobody's going to mess with us. They're very protected. The people of, and we let them know that you better not touch one of them.
Are you concerned that bad elements of the Maduro regime will remain in place?
Well, we know who they are. We're on them, and they're acting much differently now than they would have acted 2 days ago. Okay, wait, behind you, please.
Mr. President, why is running a country in South America America first?
Well, I think it is because we want to surround ourselves with good neighbors. We want to surround ourselves with stability. We want to surround ourselves with energy. We have tremendous energy in that country. It's very important that we protect it. We need that for ourselves. We need that for the world. And we want to make sure we can protect it. Yes, sir. Please, go ahead.
Yeah, is there a message here for Cuba and Diaz-Canel?
Well, Cuba's an interesting case. Cuba is, not doing very well right now. That system has not been a very good one for Cuba. The people there have suffered for many, many years. And I think Cuba is going to be something we'll end up talking about because Cuba is a failing nation right now, very badly failing nation. And we want to help the people. It's very similar in the sense that we want to help the people in Cuba, but we want to also help the people that were forced out of Cuba and living in this country. Do you want to say something about that, Marco, please?
Well, I mean, I just gave you a statement a few minutes ago about, when the president speaks, you should take him seriously. So suffice it to say, Cuba is a disaster. It's run by incompetent, senile men, and in some cases, not senile, but incompetent nonetheless. It has no economy. It's in total collapse. And by the way, they were, all of the guards that helped protect Maduro, this is well known, their whole spy agency, all that were full of Cubans. I mean, it's amazing. This poor island took over Venezuela in some cases. One of the biggest problems the Venezuelans have is they have to declare independence from Cuba. They tried to basically colonize it from a security standpoint. So, yeah, look, if I lived in Havana and I was in the government, I'd be concerned, at least a little bit.
Cutting off the oil flow to Cuba from Venezuela?
Well, the president already announced a week ago that anything that's sanctioned, it's sanctioned oil, it's not going to be allowed to get there. So that's a pre-existing.
Mr. President.
The answer is yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Is the U.S. aware of the location of opposition leader Machado, and have you been in contact with her?
No, we haven't. No, we haven't.
Mr. President.
How many hesitations about Machado?
Mr. President, on Monday.
Oh, I think it would be very tough for her to be the leader. She doesn't have the support within or the respect within the country. She's a very nice woman, but she doesn't have the respect to be the leader.
Mr. President, is it possible that the U.S. ends up administrating Venezuela for years?
Well, it won't cost us anything because the money coming out of the ground is very substantial, so it's not going to cost us anything. We will. Well, we want safety there. We want to be surrounded by countries that aren't housing all of our enemies all over the world. That's what was happening, and you don't want to have that. But we're going to be rebuilding, and we're not spending money. The oil companies are going to go in. They're going to spend money. We're going to take back the oil that, frankly, we should have taken back a long time ago. A lot of money is coming out of the ground. We're going to get reimbursed for all of that. We're going to get reimbursed for everything that we spend. So it's going to be a very important. This is a very big evening that took place last night. We have to be surrounded by safe, secure countries, and we also have to have energy. Very important. We have to have energy that's real energy, not where they're getting 4% and 5% of the energy out of the ground. You take a look. It was such a disaster. So what's going to happen with Venezuela, I think, over the next period of a year, is going to be a great thing, and the people of Venezuela will be the biggest beneficiaries.
Mr. President,
U.S. military.
Mr. President, thank you. What did you last speak to Maduro about when you spoke? And is the U.S.
Well, I don't want to get into the
Venezuela?
conversations, but I did have conversations with him, and I said, you got to surrender.
Don't mess with the family.
And I actually thought he was pretty close to doing so, but now he wished he did, yeah.
You said that Maduro is responsible for drug trafficking. You recently pardoned the former president of Honduras who was convicted of many drug trafficking. Can you explain how these two situations are different?
Well,
would you ever pardon Maduro?
I endorsed, as you know, the winning president, the man who won in Honduras. I endorsed the man who won in Chile. I endorsed the man who won in Argentina. And we are doing very well with that whole group. What the man that I pardoned was, if you could equate it to us, he was treated like the Biden administration treated a man named Trump. That didn't work out too well for them. This was a man who was persecuted very unfairly. He was the head of the country. He was persecuted very unfairly. And there are a number of them. And we felt that it was a very unfair situation that happened to him. He's also a party member of the man who won. So obviously the people liked what I did. And one of the reasons that was done is because of the fact that the party in power felt very strongly that that man was treated very badly. I studied it very quickly, and then I studied it in great detail. I went to a lot of the people standing behind me, and they felt that that man was persecuted and treated very badly. That's why I gave him a pardon.
You referenced boots on the ground earlier. Can you just sort of button this up? Do you envision the U.S. military having a presence in Venezuela as the U.S. runs that country?
No, we're going to have a presence in Venezuela as it pertains to oil, because we have to have, we're sending our expertise in. So you may need something, not very much. But no, we're going to be taking out a tremendous amount of wealth out of the ground. And that wealth is going to the people of Venezuela and people from outside of Venezuela that used to be in Venezuela. And it goes also to the United States of America in the form of reimbursement for the damages caused us by that country. So I want to thank you all very much. Thank you. Do you have one? Yes, please. You were so nice before. I'm going to give you the final question. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr.
Unless
President.
it's a bad question, in which case I'll go one word. It's about who?
It's about Putin, if you want.
About Putin? Well, that's always nice to talk about Putin.
You had a phone call with him on Monday. Did he talk at all about Maduro? Did y'all talk about this?
No, we didn't. We never spoke about Maduro.
Are you mad at him right now? I mean, there's this
I'm not
intelligence...
thrilled with Putin. I'm not thrilled with Putin. He's killing too many people.
Was that
I thought that would be so.
Killing too many.
I settled 8 1/4 war. You know what the 1/4 was? Thailand and Cambodia. I did it again. They broke out, and I did it in about 5 hours, and I settled it. I'm giving myself 1/4, so I'm up to now 8 1/4. In other words, I settled the war, but then they broke out. They had a pretty bad breakout over the last 4 days. I got them to go back to peace. So I only give 1/4. I thought the easiest one would be, one of the easier ones would be Russia, Ukraine. It's not. And they both have done some pretty bad things. And look, that's Biden's war. That's not my war. But I want to stop the lives. Did you see where last month, 30,000, it was 27,000 the month before. 30,000, mostly soldiers, were killed this last month. 30,000. I want to stop that. You know, I got NATO to pay 5% instead of the 2% that they weren't paying. They weren't paying 2, now they pay 5. And we send them a lot of munitions. We send them a lot of things, missiles and various other things, a lot. And they pay. The United States is not losing money. We're probably making money on that. It's the last thing I care about. I just want to stop all those people. We're losing 25, 30,000 human beings that come from 2 places that are very far away. But if I can stop, because it's something I've been pretty good at doing, deals, I guess. It's all a deal. Life is a big deal. But if I can stop that war and stop 30,000 young people, in addition to the fact that people are being killed in Kiev, people are being killed in other cities throughout, a much smaller number, but they're being killed, viciously killed. So I'm not happy about it. I thought that would be something that would get solved. We have Mr. Witkoff here. I think that we're making progress, but that's a war that should have never happened. If I were president, it would have never happened. Putin says it. Everybody says it. If I were president, that would have never happened. But I inherited that war. That was Joe Biden, Zelensky, and Putin. I came into the situation, and it's a mess. And I will say this. I watched an operation last night that was so precise, that was so brilliant. I mean, it was incredible. If we had our people, like this general and our people involved, that war would not have gone on very long, that I can tell you. That war, to use an old term, that war has become a bloodbath, and we want it to get stopped. Thank you very much.
Are you concerned a rogue Venezuelan general can take over the country?
All that's... Yeah, that was President.
Briefing the press about the U.S. military strikes in Venezuela that resulted in the capture of Nicolas Maduro and his wife. The pair are expected to be brought to New York to be tried on drug smuggling and terrorism charges. We'll replay the president's remarks for you in a little bit. But first, some international reaction. The United Nations X account posted this: Antonio Guterres, deeply alarmed by escalation in Venezuela, culminating with U.S. military action today. He's concerned that international law hasn't been respected. He calls on all actors in Venezuela to engage in inclusive dialogue in respect of human rights and rule of law. Meanwhile, Russia has called for a full meeting of the United Nations Security Council to look into the matter. The Russian Foreign Ministry released a statement that reads, the U.S. committed an act of armed aggression against Venezuela, which gives rise to deep concern and warrants condemnation. The pretexts used to justify these actions are untenable. Russia reaffirms its solidarity with the Venezuelan people.
Hypocrites.
And now we'll show you the president's news conference in about 40 minutes, actually. First, Elise Labott, global affairs journalist and cosmopolitics.
Yeah, I got to tell you something about that. They talk about Trump and them. They talk about like all that oil that got stolen and all that kind of stuff. What happened? Here, I put it up on the screen. What happened? See, the United States sanctioned Venezuela primarily after President Maduro's government nationalized foreign oil assets and for human rights violations. But look at here. The Venezuela seized assets of foreign oil companies, including firms, which was a major trigger leading to the initial sanctions related to these expropriations. So basically, that's why they're saying, "Oh, they stole this oil." That oil's on their land. And let me ask you a question. All right, if them nationalizing that oil gives us reason to go in there and do something about it, well, why don't we do that to Saudi Arabia? Huh? Saudi Arabia, same thing. You know, Saudi Aramco, world's most valuable oil company. Huh? What about that? If they're going to do that in Venezuela, hey, do it in Saudi Arabia too. Well, see, this is the hypocrisy that I see all the time going on with this government, with Trump and these guys. So that's what you have. That's what it is. And I guess we'll have to see later. But that's all for today. You guys take care. That was the spiel. Bye-bye. Oops, I did it again.